Excuse me. Alright, how's everybody doing tonight? What's going on? What are we up to? Is this working? Yeah, okay, it's working. Alright. I can see comments, so that's a good thing. So, what's everyone up to today? I've been working on tearing apart a lot of what I built for the Sandwyrm Ringception Metacube, and doing it, I don't want to say the right way, that's not the right term. The rings that I had and the rings that I bought new, my old batch and my new batch, did not match in color, and I don't think they matched in alloy either. So the new rings are a lot shinier than the old, well, not a lot, a little shinier than the old rings. And had I continued with making rings out of the old rings, right, I would have a color disparity. And so instead, I'm leaving the core full Persian chain and removing the outside. And I've got a large pile that we have to add the outside box weave to in order to make them back into rings so that we can weave them into our cube. Is that clear as mud? Good. Now that everybody's on the same page. That's what I've been doing, and I spent the whole day doing it. I have 2 of these left. Oh, and then I have this giant pile of rings over here. These will make the core chain, the core full Persian chain. So I get to reweave all of those rings. But don't worry, it's only a couple thousand. It's probably something like 3,000 rings. So a fifth of all the rings that are being woven into this cube. It's not the end of the world. It's just going to take a couple of days and we'll have everything back to the way it was. Alright, my dog is upstairs knocking his pen around. I can hear it, so if you hear a rumbling that sounds like thunder, it's just the corgi puppy being a giant turd. Such is life. Thank you for the follow, appreciate you. Speaking of follows, we are getting close to 8,000. I think that's 7,800. So a little over 2,000 to go to that magical 10,000 where I can get my own stream key. That'll be nice. And if you're following along, be sure to check out my Linktree and follow along all my other social medias, as apparently TikTok is undergoing what could be its undoing. So I don't want to see that happen, but I've already contacted my congressman and I got a cookie cutter response in return. He did not vote for the latest funding bill to war zones that included the TikTok ban at the bottom. So, like, I still like the guy, but I didn't care for the TikTok is dangerous because it takes your data and gives it to the Chinese government. I'm like, yeah, so does every other social media site, but what do I know? So, I know it's kind of boring watching me tear stuff down instead of build it up, but I think it's an important lesson for anyone watching, right? There are a lot of times when you will start a project and have to tear it apart to fix something or change out your ring size. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20. Money. And, you know, it is what it is at this point. It's like there are other projects I could work on, but I stupidly decided that while in the midst of multiple 1,000 ring, like 10, 15, 20,000 ring projects, I should stop and add another 15,000 or 16,000 ring project you know, while I'm in the middle and have none of those other projects finished, which sounds about right. So now that I've gone through all the trouble of putting this almost halfway together and then tearing it apart, I have an urge to finish it. So everything else is just going to have to wait for right now. That's okay. It's supposed to be... I'm hoping to have all this back to where it was... What's today? Thursday? It's supposed to rain all weekend, so I can't go riding anyway. It was too cold to ride today. So the deadline on the saddlebags is May 25th. Blessing of the bikes, May 25th. Got to have both saddlebags done. One is done. The other one is mostly done. I like how they're coming out. And once the saddlebags are back on the bike, then I'll go riding. I don't feel... I don't feel like riding around town with one saddlebag or no saddlebags on my bike. It looks funny. I want to be known for having cool chainmail covered saddlebags. All that's got to be done on that is I have to finish lacing it up. There's a little chainmail work to be done, but the bulk of it is done. The rest of it is just fitting it correctly to the saddlebag. So that project took a lot longer than I anticipated. And a lot of it's just frustration of figuring out the process of how to attach chainmail to a saddlebag and have it look good. And then the other frustrating part is lacing everything up so that it looks good and stays connected. Because you're running like 70 feet of leather lacing through 6 or 7 different layers, and in order to prevent the leather lace from like being worn down as it goes through like 400 holes, like you have to do them one by one. Would a chainmail tire work? For like what application? So I know that the Ringlord up in Canada had a government contract application they put in for lunar rover wheels, I believe it was. I believe I did a video about the right one. Then I was told it was the wrong one, and then I did some research and it was the right one, and I'm not 100% certain, but pretty sure it was the lunar rover and the Mars. I don't think it was the Mars rover, but they did try to make some chainmail wheels for space vehicles, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, sculpturally, you could make some, like, these are round rings that you could use as tires in a sculpture. But outside of like chainmail tires for a practical application, I'm going to go with no. But then I do not have all the answers. So maybe someday someone will create one. Of the stuff that's been done with chainmail, a lot of it is pretty mind-blowing, and so it wouldn't surprise me if someone was like, hey, we did this, and it's a chainmail tire. And they have, like, I've seen big, okay, not even big mining trucks. The chains on your tires for winter driving, right? Those are similar in concept to basic chainmail patterns, and so while it's definitely reinforced by a rubber tire, you know, there is a chainmail-like quality to them. A sphere of chainmail. Yeah, that's basically what the Rover wheels looked like. Or a Taurus of chainmail. But yeah, the chains that you pull out for your tires in the winter when you're going over the snow-covered passes in the mountains at 10,000 feet. Very similar to basic chainmail weaves. And so if you were to take a basic chainmail weave and make it hefty enough to handle the abuse of being driven on snow and attached to a tire, like thicker wire gauge, welded rings, stuff like that, you could probably come up with something. Yeah, essentially, I mean, like the chains used for your tires are like your basic oval ring shape, right? Thank you for the follow, appreciate you. And the way that chainmail is defined today is what you're making chainmail out of has to be a round ring. It can be a welded ring, a butted ring like what I'm using here where the ends butt together, a key ring, or also known as a split ring, a riveted ring, and then they got the half round where it's like they took a wire and split it right down the diameter of the wire in half, and so the inside of the ring is flat and the outside is round. So I can't think of any other examples, but when you see, some people will be like showing examples of curb chain and be like, oh, look at this chainmail necklace, and it's like, it's the chainmail community, people long before I ever became a part of it would not categorize that as chainmail. So the oval links that you see on standard chain, regardless of how they're connected, right? It's similar. I saw someone had a vest out of giant chain links the other day for their workout, and it had to have been 100 pounds of metal that they put over their shoulders, and then they started working out. So, but you could, you get a good welder, some thicker rings or thicker wire gauge, and you could make some tire chains out of chainmail. I don't know how well they would work, but presumably just as good as what you can get from the store. Who knows? Someone was gonna experiment with a chainmail mud flap for their RV, for their vehicle. I don't know how that went, but they wanted to use quite large rings to make a mud flap, which I thought was pretty cool. Not something I'd ever considered using chainmail to make, but they do it right. Should last them a good long time, There's been all kinds of applications outside of armor, right? You'd make a mud flap with like the old chain basketball nets. Excuse me. There you go. Like, the application for chainmail has, since it was first invented by the Etruscans and developed by the Celts, it's been in use for one thing or another, right? We used it in World War I and World War II against torpedoes. We use it today for erosion barriers on mountainsides. Big nets of chainmail just nailed to the mountain to hold the rocks in place so it doesn't come down on traffic. So the possibilities are endless. And like this project right now, it's just a decorative sculpture that I'm working on. And it doesn't serve a purpose other than to be cool. Thank you for the hand heart. Much appreciated. But even from movie costumes and what else we use it for today? I'm trying to think of a, besides the rover wheels, what else we use it for on an industrial scale. I know I did a video on something else, or I had plans to do a video on something else, but people do all kinds of artwork with it anymore beyond just your necklaces and bracelets and earrings and shirts of armor and stuff like that. It's awesome. You would have a gown. There you go. A curtain. There. I want to say like the Chopped kitchen, or one of the kitchen cooking competition shows had a pantry, and to get into the pantry there was a chainmail curtain there. I was like, that's right on. There's a company called Mailtech, MAILLETECH.com, and they'll do curtains for your kitchen or your windows, and they do chandeliers, and they do a lot. They do all the welded chainmail for the Neptunic shark suits that you see on Discovery Channel when the divers are diving with sharks. So there's some more current stuff that we use it for. I think I've been told that the industry that uses it the most is the butcher industry for chainmail aprons and chainmail gloves. I actually have a chainmail glove, and it's very old. It was my uncle's father's glove, and I was driving past their house out in Iowa, and on my way back, I stopped on my way out to go where I was going to Colorado at the time, and on my way back from Colorado, my uncle gave it to me, so that's pretty cool. Have like a family heirloom thing. It's kind of beat up, but it is a fine mesh chainmail glove, and you can go to Walmart and get them. But so yeah, tons of stuff that we use it for. There is a company that, I don't know if they do more than chainmail shoes, but they're like one of the barefoot shoe companies. You ever seen the shoes with like the individual toes outlined on them? And it's like acting as a second skin, really. There's a company in England, I want to say, and I had them pulled up at one point, but they make chainmail shoes, and they're a bit expensive, like $300-400. So I have not gotten myself a pair yet. I'm still saving up for my Neptunic shark suit, It's $7,500 for a Neptunic shark suit, and it's going to take me a while to save up for one, but I want to own one day, just because. But that's it. That's all the things I can, like all the modern stuff that I'm aware of. One of the Weta employees, his name's Kane, and I can't remember his last name. He developed some kind of plastinization process where he can make huge sheets of plastic chainmail, and they use them for blocking sunlight high up in skyscrapers and parking garages, and it helps reduce the light exposure and helps keep the building cool. And I think I can actually get a sample of that. So, and you know, now today we've got people 3D printing chainmail, and that's going to continue to be explored. I've seen them do basic weaves, but I've seen the European 4-in-1 weave and a jelly cube weave. So I'm sure many more weaves are coming. All right. So this is essentially half of what I had woven, right? And this is the other half of what I had woven. I took it all apart because these rings do not match this ring, this pile of rings here. So now I've got the core of these rings, and I'm going to put these rings, the new rings, on the outside to make sure, like, the shiny side out. And I'm going to weave this pile into more of these full Persian chains, 20 units long. So, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to make a ring. We've got our core. We need some rings from the new pile of rings. And we'll make a ring and attach it to the base of our cube here. And hopefully we'll get one done. What time is it? 8:23? We have time to get one done. But the rings, the new rings, are all a spring steel, and they are no joke trying to close them. Or open them, for that matter. It's like they're very bouncy when you try to close them, so the ends don't want to line up perfectly. And the whole point of doing any of this is you know, so that it's something cool to look at, and you don't want it to have a bunch of sharp edges poking out. So you want your closures to be really good. All right. What do you guys think of my new hoodie? It says the Great Lakes on it. It's got a lighthouse and the sunrise. And it's like super soft. It's like I was running out of things to lounge around the house in. And I found two hoodies. One was they were I think they were both 50% off or something. So I got two hoodies for like $35. One was $15, the other was $20. I was like, I can't pass that up. It's like I do live right next to one of the Great Lakes. And then the other one had a cool texture to it. It's kind of a green-gray textured hoodie. And the instant I got home, my wife said, "Oh, it looks like a carpet." And like all the good feelings that I'd had about getting myself a hoodie to lounge around the house in went poof. Because now I was wearing a carpet. I don't care though. It's super comfortable hoodie, as is this one. Alright. For anyone hanging out, my name's Sean. I run mailworks.com. My username.com. I design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories. And I make chainmail and I stream it to the internet to show the world that you too can drive yourself mad opening and closing rings over and over and over again until it makes something cool. It is a really fun hobby. This is a very large project. This is 16,000 rings, basically. Right? It was 17,000, but because I took one unit out of each ring, right? It reduced it from like almost 17,000 to right around right around 16. Martin, how you doing? Alright, whenever people come in that I don't know who start tagging me, usually it's a bot. So, Martin, if your next post doesn't say spaghetti, you're out of here. I don't know if that works or not, but pretty sure it does. Alright, for anyone watching and they want a different view, I do have an overhead view available on all the other platforms where you would normally find someone streaming. Like the Face app, the Tube app, the Purple app. Yeah, okay. Goodbye, Martin. It's like every now and then, just, you know, a random user will pop in and start tagging other people in the comments. It's like, and they never know the person tagging them. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You guys heard of heard? Have you guys heard? Have you heard of the dead internet theory? Something like 95% of all content is artificial, created by bots, liked by bots, shared by bots, etc., so on and so forth. Sounds about right. So, especially on other platforms, like, I assume that everyone who makes a comment is a real person. So on my videos where I have a large number of views and a large number of comments, like, at least the comments are mostly real, right? I think. I hope. But the rest could all be fake. I would have no idea. And that's, you know, TikTok's the platform I'm the biggest on. All the rest of the ones I'm on, I don't think I have. I think I have 1,400 likes on my business page on Facebook. That is my second largest platform, and there's no interaction on there. But of course, it's a business page, so you know, got to pay to have those out in front of people. Alright. So I started making chainmail back when I was about 14. I was hanging out with one of my... I have two uncles One's my step uncle, and one is my father's brother that I grew up with. And my dad's brother, my Uncle Mike, he taught me how to play guitar. And my stepdad's brother, Sean, he taught me how to make chainmail. Or he taught me that you could make chainmail. So I went home. My grandpa had a giant spool of like 14 gauge wire in his backyard that he'd picked up somewhere. And like a giant spool of it. He cut me off a piece. I used a piece of rebar to wrap the wire around. And then I cut it with these crappy snips right here. And then I wove my first piece of chainmail. And then eventually I got some galvanized steel fence wire from Home Depot and a 3/8 of an inch rod to wrap everything around. And I used a drill to make my coils, and I hand cut those rings with these miniature bolt cutters that I have here, which are now bent all to hell from all the rings I've opened and closed with them, or from all the rings I cut with them. So that's how I got started. And then I used the galvanized fence wire for really bad rings and a bunch of crappy projects. But eventually, I discovered the Ring Lord while I was deployed. And theringlord.com is a website up in, it's a business up in Canada. And they were very passionate about making rings specifically for chainmail. And so by that point, like when I first got started back in '96, there were not a lot of resources on the internet for learning weaves and whatnot, or patterns for projects or anything. So I was flying on my own for a while. And you can, when you have a little bit of experience making chainmail, you can look at something and go, oh, I see how they did that. Which also sometimes you would end up staring at an image of something for hours trying to determine how they did it. It wasn't just you looked at it and you were good to go. Full Persian, to figure out full Persian from a picture took me a long time. Right? But not every weave was that way. I knew a bunch of beginner weaves by the time I found the Ring Lord. And then I learned a lot more once I got there. So that was quite the boon to find a chainmail ring supplier while I was on deployment that would deliver to where I was deployed. And so I ordered a bunch of rings and I got started on a bunch of stuff, and I kind of still screwed around and didn't really know what I was doing, but about, I don't know, 15 years ago is when I started getting good and churning out pretty quality, high-level, good-looking projects. So, and a bunch of projects got started, and that's a lot of what I'm finishing up now. Right, the saddlebags I mentioned earlier, they've got regular stainless and blackened stainless, and the blackened stainless was all woven together as part of a shirt I was working on. But because the Ring Lord has changed hands, things were not stocked. I couldn't get the ring size I wanted, and they changed up how they made their rings, how they sized their rings. So all of my old rings did not match any of the new rings I was ordering in size. So I had a lot of just leftover projects laying around that I couldn't get more work done on. So now it's all being turned into something else, or that's what this started out as. This was, I had a pile of rings and I was like, okay, what do I do with them? And I started to put them together. I was hoping that this weave would be a little bit more rigid. I was actually trying to make a dragon scale pine cone sculpture, which I will do at some point, but not right now. And because this weave was just not as rigid as I remembered it being, I was like, that looks like a good size to make a cube out of. And for anyone who doesn't know what I mean when I say cube, this is a jelly cube, right? There are 18,299 rings in this cube. And so the weave I used to make this cube is what I'm putting these rings I'm making together as, right? Obviously, this will only have 95 rings by the time I'm done. And this has significant number more. I'm sorry. It'll only have 95 of these large rings that I've made out of smaller rings. Does that make sense? It'll have 95 big rings, and those big rings will be made up of 16,000 small rings. I think that makes sense. So I should have delayed this project by a little bit. But now that I've built it up and I've torn it apart, I'm like, I've got the rings I need to finish it. I'm very bent on getting this done. So hopefully it won't take me too... Oh, goodness gracious. That is always a risk. Your pliers slip and you can get hurt. Be careful. Especially with these spring steel rings that don't want to go into place in the first place. I have jabbed myself on accident many a time. All right, we've got six rings done here of this, the start of this base layer, and we need 15 more. And when all of those are woven up and put together, it'll make a lot more sense. And then while we're weaving everything together, okay, there is a direction that these rings face, right? And you want them all flowing in the same direction, right? I was talking about this last night. I'll show you, like, these rings go this way, these rings go the same direction, these rings go the same direction, right? And these two, they go the same direction. And then all the rings that line up with this ring here on the side, they'll all face the same direction. And you don't have to do that. But I think that it's going to be one of those things where once they're all lined up, like, your eye will just follow it and it won't be broken up. Is this what you're looking for? You're looking for some cube action? And I think it's one of those attention to detail things that I was, like, discussing last night, but I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have. If all these big rings were the same color and I was making a pattern, I would have them lined up. So because they have a texture, I want all the texture to flow the right way. So, does that make sense? Like, it's not, it doesn't matter if you do it or not. The end result will be a cube made out of large rings, made from small rings, but hopefully someone will notice they all point the same direction. I don't know if it's important, but it feels important. Like they should all face the same way. Because otherwise, it's like when you make something out of wood, right? You want all the grain to face to flow the same direction. And it's probably one of those things that only another chainmail artist would ever notice. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it too much, and it probably doesn't really matter. But I think getting them all to face the same direction is a good idea, and we'll just show that attention to detail on top of all the rest of the work that is going into this. What else have we got going on? For anyone watching who's like, oh cool, I can make chainmail at home, I would love to learn how to do that. In the link tree in my bio is the Mailworks app. And it's being worked on right now, so some of the icons are a bit screwy, and some of the tools have not yet been added, but there's like a space for them. So if you are interested in learning how to make your own chainmail, downloading the Mailworks app is usually what I tell people to start with. Because it's got all the resources I would have wanted when I got started nearly 30 years ago. And I'm trying to make it more and more useful as time goes on. Hence why it's being worked on right now. There was a chat page, and I just turned it into a link to a Discord. So, and there's not much in the Discord right now either, but there's a couple people in there, and that's gonna grow bigger, and hopefully people who like Discord will like to use it and post their stuff and whatnot, or ask questions. But the chat page that I had, you could post something, but if someone commented, you wouldn't get a notification that someone had responded to you. So it didn't initiate any conversation. So I was like, that's not working. Let me just move to a platform plenty of people are familiar with. Wow. And then, like I said, there's some other tools that I've got to add, and I've got to fix all the icons. But other than that, all the resources are there, like all the suppliers, where to find tutorials, where chainmail artists hang out online, all that fun stuff. There is, of course, a link to my website in there as well. So I'm not... it's not altruistic. There is an ulterior motive to getting people to join and hang out and learn more about chainmail, and that is so that they become fans of chainmail like myself, and they buy all my chainmail themed stuff for their house. All right, so what's everybody's favorite color? It's a quiet night tonight. I get it, it's Thursday. We got one more day till the weekend. I've been dealing with a sick kid the last 2 days. And I could have sent him to school today, but he had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And I was like, screw it. Let's just stay home, enjoy our weekend, take Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. You just found me. Seriously, great work. Thank you. We're trying to make cool stuff over here. How are you, Stiglin Moon? Is that how you pronounce your name? Some people's usernames are fairly straightforward, like Kenneth. And others have their... my favorite usernames are ones that I can't repeat or say out loud on stream because your stream will end. It's like, what in the world is your username there? What do you mean by that? Bleep, 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 bleep. So, yeah, so kid got 5 days off, and he's been playing video games and coughing and taking his meds, and I did run by the school to get his homework. We'll see how much he gets done over the weekend. You are succeeding. It's pronounced Stijlin. Stijlin. Okay. I'm in the ballpark, I feel. No one can pronounce my username. Every time I pop into someone's live, they're all like, "Oh, what's going on, Mallywer X?" And of course, it's mail as in chain mail, and works as in I'm working on mail. So close. It's a hard one, no worries. Fair enough. So I get all these odd pronunciations of my username, and here's a pro tip, okay? Be very careful what you name your business, all right? Run it by that one friend that can make fun of anything or any name, right? Send it past them for a review, because Mailworks honestly sounds like a men's strip club, or a strip club that has men in it, right? Does that make male works like hard bodies, like? So just be careful if you decide to name your business. It's not the worst thing that I've ever done, but I wish I would have thought it through a little more. Okay, so we want all the rings to be going the same direction. And we need 4 of these. Yeah, it is, I mean, when I realized what it sounded like, really, I just wanted something that connected me to chainmail, that was relatively identifying. And man, did I miss. It would have been better to, like, done Great Lakes Chainmail or Sean's Rings. I don't know. Something benign. As opposed to having a business name that sounds like someplace you go for erotic entertainment. It is what it is. But in case anyone was wondering, it is pronounced Mailworks. You think it's great? Anyone who knows chain knows what you're doing? You would think so, right? Like, you would think that people who know chainmail would readily identify the first half of my business name, right? Yet I go in their lives. How you doing, Louie? Or, I see a video they've tagged me in or something. It's okay. I don't want to hold grudges. They are forgiven. Like, it's odd, right? Like, I'm not a crazy person for thinking that it's odd. They updated Fallout and now your mods don't work? Oh no. I've never played a video game with mods. Mods were not a thing when I was growing up that I had access to play video games with. And then, like, the only time we've ever dealt with them, my son wanted a bunch of mods to play Minecraft with. And I was like, I'm not about to download any sketchy thing from anywhere so that you can be an ice cream sundae, chopping down trees or whatever. You gotta go help your kiddos, but you're happy you found it. Keep up the great work. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Usually here like 8:30 to 10 most nights of the week. Got started a little early tonight, but that's because there's a ton of work to do and I'm just sitting here. So I'd rather hang out with you guys than sit in silence. It was nice to meet you. All right. But yeah. I never was enough into gaming for mods. It's one of those things, like gaming. Okay, I make chainmail, right? But this is not my nerd flag flying, right? Not really. I don't see how it can be, okay? There's nothing like, I like Lord of the Rings and I like Firefly and 90s cartoons. Please don't be starting over. I didn't start all the way over. And I like Renaissance festivals, but most of what I like is making chainmail. Rachel, I only took this much apart. It's only half. It'll all be back together soon. What was I saying? Something about... Yeah, so... Like, I have... Okay, I've seen one episode of Doctor Who. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. None of that has ever interested me. And so there are a lot of things in the nerd world, especially video games, that I've never been exposed to. Right? But I should have, and I should have liked it, but now it's too late. You know? Needing? Let's see here. Yeah. You nerd out over chainmail more than anything else? Lord of the Rings, Firefly, ready? Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was something I could never get into. I watched a few episodes of the TV show, and I read the first, like, someone gave me the books. No. I read the first book, like, when it came out. And then after that, like, I didn't care for it. But someone bought me the next couple of books. I did end up reading a few of those. And I'm not a fan of George R.R. Martin at all. So... And I'm not saying that you have to be a fan of all these things to be considered a nerd. I'm just stating that I was either not exposed to them or am now, like, too... Okay, like, I was deployed when Harry Potter got big, right? So I didn't know anything about Harry Potter until I was... till a decade later. Till I dated someone who liked Harry Potter. Meanwhile, everyone back in the States, family members of mine included, were all getting their wands and dressing up in robes and waiting on their owls to give them a letter to go to Hogwarts, and like, I missed all of that. I do enjoy the movies. I'm told the books are better. I have no idea. There we go. Seven rings of 95 done. Not an HP fan. Give you Lord of the Rings. I do love the Lord of the Rings. There is the $600 or $500 collector's edition Blu-ray with all the Hobbits, all the Lord of the Rings, and all of the interviews and all the background stuff that went on. So, like, a couple weeks worth of content. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. And it's in my Amazon cart right now, and I've got to find a way to rationalize purchasing it, because I have some of them on Vudu and some of them on DVD, right? But I went to go watch them the other day on Vudu, and like I own the digital copy on there. I went to play it, and it would not work. So I was like, okay, I need hard copies of this. You liking the current Dune series? Yeah, I read the series in high school too. Saw the old 80s movie with Sting in his underwear. I have not seen either Dune yet. I was completely oblivious to there being a first one, right? All of a sudden I keep seeing content being made about the Dune 2 popcorn buckets, and I was like, Dune 2? And I look into it, and there was a first Dune made, and I had no idea. It's good. I will have to check it out. Another DVD that I own the DVD, but it's the theatrical cut of Kingdom of Heaven. And Kingdom of Heaven is another Weta production, just like Lord of the Rings. A lot of the same people worked on the arms and armament and the chainmail, and it's closer to the book than the others. Right on. And so I was originally, Weta worked on Lord of the Rings, I should watch Kingdom of Heaven. Watch Kingdom of Heaven. It's a little weird, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why, like, it seemed to kind of jump around. And that's because apparently you have to watch the director's cut in order to understand the whole story. And so that is another. What am I doing? I was like, why are these rings closing so smoothly? Away from me, you big pile of rings. That's what I get for not paying attention. Yeah, so that is another hard copy I want of the extended edition director's cut. Oh, good Lord. I wasn't paying attention. I grabbed rings from the wrong pile. And that one's good, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. Handful of shiny new rings. There we go. But no, I missed out on... Okay, here's a good example of something I missed out on completely, right? When I grew up, we had Digimon, the cartoon that would play after school. And everyone else who had cable had Pokemon. I never had cable growing up. I don't have cable now. So the whole Pokemon phenomena just bypassed me. Saw the thumbnail scrolling. You thought, is he making Persian sheet? No, just a cube out of rings made from full Persian, surrounded by box. It's called Sandwyrm. And then these rings actually go this way. I don't know. I can't hold it. There. That's how far we've gotten. 7 rings out of 95. All right, well, thanks for popping by. You love Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh? I never watched Yu-Gi-Oh. But, yeah, people who had cable saw Pokemon. I had no idea what it was. And Dragon Ball Z. But where I grew up was a test market. And there were a lot of shows that I had never seen or heard of. Like Punky Brewster. Never seen an episode. I know that it's an 80s TV show now that played along with all the other 80s TV shows that I watched. Hey, Jeeb and Jammer, how you doing? Yu-Gi-Oh's very Egyptian-based. Right on. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. We are rebuilding the cube that I had started. And talking about how I missed out on all this huge part of our culture that had I been exposed to it, I would have enjoyed it. But now that I'm much older, it's like too late. Why rebuilding? So the new rings that I bought in this bin over here are slightly, ever so slightly shinier than the old rings that I had. And because of that, I took off the box layer of Sandwyrm off the rings and just have the full Persian core made from the old rings, and I'm putting the bright shiny rings on the outside. And then also the old cube that I had done was just a little too sloppy, so I have sized everything down by 1 unit, and now it's theoretically going to be more rigid. So, but everything is apart now. We just got to put it all back together. One of those houses you looked at had door kicked in on one of the rooms? Is that like an angsty teenager door kicked in, or like bad things happened there? Yeah, so it's a lot of work for for what it is, but the end result should be better than what I had going. And since this is an item that will be going up for sale, you know, I want it to look as nice as possible. I think it was supposed to be set up like a dorm. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you're looking at houses, man. That's a good next step. Glad to hear you're getting there. It's an insane project. Yes. But, you know, I've done a bunch of, like, kind of small sculptures, and I have a bunch of, like, fairly large sculptures that I've got planned out in my head on how I want to do it, and so it's like people make all kinds of cool stuff, and I don't want to copy other people necessarily. Like some stuff, unavoidable. Want to make myself a Byzantine necklace. And, you know, but I'm never going to be the type to hustle for the weekend vending spot. That has never been conducive to my lifestyle. So it's like I want to make large, cool chainmail sculptures and hopefully sell them for a lot of money. So we'll see. Hello, fellow Jeeper. You have a JLU and loved her. And love her. Named her Headstrong Jeep. There you go. I had a buddy in high school who had is like a 67 CJ or something. 77 CJ. There's a 7 in there somewhere. I believe that's what it was. Nope, not this song. How many times can I give this song the thumbs down? It's fine. But that is my only exposure to Jeeps. I've never... Oh, no. Renee had a Jeep Liberty. It was a pretty good little vehicle until the windows started... The motors started breaking. I'm sorry. The window motors started breaking. Other than that, it was fine. Off to bed. Work day. And then travel to fair opening weekend as a vendor. Congratulations. Have fun. Sell lots. Yeah, I'm working in stainless steel. How you doing? You were working on your uncle's 98 TJ the last 2 days till 12:30 and 11:30 in the morning? Fun. Yeah. I don't make everything out of stainless steel, but moving forward, I'm definitely limiting the types of materials I'll be using. So, it's like, unless I'm making an inlay or a static piece, I don't want to use anodized aluminum for anything. You are the tired. Yeah, I'll bet. Silver, titanium, and stainless steel for me. And these shiny rings in this bin over here are spring stainless, so they are kicking my butt. They don't want to open, they don't want to close. Now without serious convincing. You're going to start learning how to do bracelet. Right on. How are you, Erica? A bracelet is a good place to start. There are suppliers that have bracelet kits in their product lists. That's one of the ways I definitely recommend people get started, is starting with a small project for an easy win right away. Might be able to go back to your old job. Okay, good, good. There are two companies off the top of my head that I can think of: Metal Designs and We've Got Mail. Both have bracelet kits, and you might look at those. I don't recommend going to their list of rings and picking out random ring sizes without a little bit of foreknowledge and experience first, because that's how I ended up here. I ordered 16 gauge 3/8 rings. I didn't know what I was going to make out of it, and now I have 16,000 to assemble. So don't be like me. Be smart. So I ordered a bunch of rings of various ring sizes, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to make up projects as I went along. Might even be a pay bump, hopefully, but I really hope you can. You miss repairing furniture? Well, right on. I need to make some sales. That'll be my only pay bump this year. If I can get this finished and just really wow someone with it, and they offer me a lot of money for it, I will be very happy. But here's the thing, okay? This will be an expensive piece, right? Just because it's a lot of work, and it's a big piece of chainmail, right? It's going to be like 21, 22 pounds when it's done. Now, the weight doesn't really have anything to do with the value of the piece, right? You'll see a lot of times in any niche hobby forum, any discussion group, someone will ask, how do you price your stuff, right? And they'll get a formula, and it's, number of hours at your hourly rate times, or number of hours you worked times your hourly rate plus cost of supplies, shipping and handling, yada yada, right? What a lot of people that are inexperienced, right, with life and business and everything, is like, you got to pay for your child care, your health care, your insurances, all the extraneous things that come along with existing in today's world, right, needs to be factored into your pricing, right? But the reality is that none of those things equal price. They're one way to find a price in which you're willing to trade, your labor for some undetermined value, undetermined amount of money, right? But the reality is that price is not based off any of those things. Price is simply what someone is willing to pay you for something you have, right? I had someone, when I told, I made this cube. I made a video. The cube was actually smaller at the time, right? And people asked me how much I would have charged for it. And I've added a layer or two on each side, so it was a little bit smaller. Excuse me. I think the math was like 14,000 rings, and now it's 18,000. Okay, So it has changed in size. But at the time, I said I wouldn't sell this cube for anything less than $2,000. Okay? And I had a bunch of people being like, $2,000, that's, you're out of your mind. I had other people offer me more. I had people offer me like 1,000 or 1,300. I had someone offer me 1,500, and I had someone offer me 3,500. And the 3,500 was tempting. But I'm not done with this cube, and this personal project. It's really not going to go up for sale, right? Most chainmail artists will never make a cube with 18,000 rings in it. So there's not many of them to begin with, right? So it is rare, but even its rarity doesn't really contribute to like what someone perceives its value to be, right? And when I'm done it'll be 5 inches in length, height, and width. And right now I'm at 3.5, almost 4, 3 and 3/4 on each side, right? So I got 1.25 inches to go on each side. And once it's there, it's going to have something like almost 45,000 rings in it. Okay? I wouldn't sell that for less than $10,000. And there are people who are going to go, yeah, that's amazing. $10,000 is the right amount of money. That may not be enough, right? And other people are going to be like, oh, it's a small cube made of aluminum. It's not worth that much. But yeah, it's not worth that much to them. And it's probably unlikely I'd find a buyer for $10,000, right? And so I don't have any intention of selling it. But the reality is that there is a price out there at which I'm willing to part with this and someone is willing to pay. And that is what the price is, right? I can calculate all the numbers of hours I've worked on it, figure out an hourly, figure out an hourly wage for myself, figure out how much the materials cost, right? And come up with a number. And that will give me a value that I don't want to leave. I don't want to separate with this less than that value, right? Because that doesn't make sense. And so the formulas for determining price are helpful in ensuring that you don't lose money. But the reality is that, especially when it comes to art, you don't go ask an artist how much their oil paints cost for the picture they painted, right? Because I had that a lot. It's like, what is the cost on this? And I don't remember. I think it's at 26 ounces at $4 an ounce. So $100 plus shipping and handling. So I'm like $120, $130 because these come from Canada and shipping's expensive. Okay. $130 in supplies. But I made a cube out of it, and that cube will bring someone much joy. And I'm far more likely to sell it, if someone can put their hands on it and play with it. They'll be like, oh yeah, this is amazing. You added the cost of the rings in the product, then you added a few bucks because it takes maybe half an hour. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. You got to figure out what your costs are, what your labor, and labor is one of those costs, right? But if the reality is that if nobody agrees with you that your item is worth what you're asking for it, then no one's going to buy it. The price of whatever you make is actually lower than what you set it as. And so that's how you know not to make that thing again. However, right, you got to figure there are going to be items that you make that people look at and they go, oh, that's a steel. That's a stainless steel necklace. That'll last 150 years plus. I can change out that little lobster clasp on there, no problem. And I can pass it front down from myself to my son. Yeah, you got to figure in restock, and I mean, there's all sorts of formulas you can come up with to determine a price so that you don't lose money when you go to sell something, right? But if someone paints an oil painting and it took them weeks and the oil paint was not very expensive and it was a fairly simple picture or what looked like a simple picture, but they sell it, you know, you're looking at it and they got a price tag of 10 grand on it. And you say, I wouldn't pay more than 2 grand for that. But someone else who is in love with whatever the subject matter of the painting is, and paintings of this subject matter really speak to that person, might say, I would pay 12 grand for that. Right? And that, like, most people don't haggle over the set price of bread on the grocery store shelf. Okay? But the reality is that if people look at that, you know, your fancy artisan bread, and they go, it's really tasty, it's really good, and it looks really pretty, but, you know, I can't rationalize spending $12 on a loaf of bread. Okay, then, and, you know, everyone's that way. Then the price of your loaf of bread is lower than $12. Does this make sense? Like, if you set your price, of your artisan bread for $12 a loaf, and no one's willing to buy it, then the price is lower than what you set it at. But if you set your price at $3 for your artisan bread and you sell out, then the actual price is higher than the $3 you set it at, right? And that nobody's going to haggle over the price of bread on the grocery shelf, right? But for a price of art, they might be willing to pay less and they won't purchase whatever it is, or they might be willing to pay more. And in that case, the next time you build your piece of art, you charge a little more for it. So, and especially when it comes to art, there is the whole process of matching up what you've made to the customer that's going to love it. There is that. If you get someone that's like, oh, your materials they're only a couple bucks, I can make that in my backyard, right? They're never, you don't want those people as customers for starters. They're never going to be satisfied no matter what the price is, okay? Just say, yeah, you can. Go download the Mailworks app. He's got a lot of free resources for people to learn how to make really good chainmail, like what you see on this table in front of you. But does that make sense? Okay. Am I making sense or am I speaking Greek? My reply, you can make that yourself, is then do it and leave you be. Yeah. What are you doing here looking at it? Go make it. And they'll never make it. They'll never make it. And that's fine. They can just never have one. Right? Or you'll have done a lot of work on the polish of a piece to get it looking really nice, and they'll come back with some snaggletooth piece. They're like, yeah, I can make that stuff too, you know? And it's like they angle grind cut the piece together. But my point is, when you go to price your items, understand that your hourly rate needs to cover the cost of living, right? The time you spent working on something has to cover things like childcare and health insurance and all that's, you know. Figure out what you spend on those things in a year, divided by 26, however many paychecks you get, divide that by 80 for however many hours you worked, and that would be like how much you need to include in an hour for, like, your child care, your insurance, your taxes. No, especially taxes. Oh, my God. Why what? Gotta go. Take care. All right, Jeep and Jammer, have a good one. Comfortable cost of living is just shy of 24 an hour. Well, and that's, you know, a person's comfortable cost of living is based on their situation. I'm giving really good advice. I understand why people are like, they'll look at something that they're not in love with, like an oil painting of a ship on the ocean. Ships, I've been told by people in the art world that ships in the ocean, you know, in a storm, sell really well, and people like them, right? I have no idea. I think they're cool, but some people really love ships on an ocean and are willing to pay a lot of money for them, right? And those people never go to the artist and say, hey, you know, how many hours did you put into it, and how much did the oil cost to make it? And so when I see those comments coming at me or at any other chainmail artist or leather worker or carpenter, you know, comfortable is not worrying about where money for the next bill is coming from. I worry about all the money for all the bills I got coming. I need less bills. It's those comments always come from people who have no intention of buying, for starters, who aren't in love with what you're making, second, and they only exist in a world where, like, they'll pay for something if the math adds up in their head, right? But, you know, that's not how anything is priced. Everything is priced based off of what someone is willing to pay for it. Less bills and more money. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. Yeah, I need less bills and I need more money. All right, we might, let's see, 9:28. We might get a second ring on tonight. There we go. Now we're cooking with Crisco. All right, and I do need some more money. I'm hoping that okay. This piece, once it's done, once all the rings are connected together and I have this 21, 22 pound cube, yay high, this big, and I still should probably build a base for it. So once that's done, I still have like 10 more sculptures to make that still all have to be funded before I can take high-res photos of them and shop them around to galleries in the area to see if they would do an exhibit for me. So, like, it would be... Okay, so someone might walk by a table I'm vending at, pick this up, and it would have a large price tag on it, and they would feel it and play with it and be like, I've got, you know, this much money to spend. Let me have this. And they would spend it, right? But the likelihood of me selling this online to people who can't tangibly, to people who can't touch it, right? Who can't experience moving this around. It's highly unlikely that I would get the price that I would want for the amount of time and labor I put into this and what I think that it should sell for, right? So in order to do a gallery exhibit, I have to create several more sculptures, and why the gallery exhibit is so that people can go and touch what I make and then maybe they will also spend lots of money. They're far more likely to spend lots of money in a place where lots of money gets spent than, say, online. Not that it's impossible. How much for this cube right now? 1 layer ago, so $2,000. There's 18,000 rings in it, and maybe $3,000 if I. $3,000, yeah. Yeah, about $3,000 is what I would charge if this were a commission. Probably a little more, but to get it to where I want, I essentially have to triple the number of rings in here. Yep, big old chainmail cube, which is, it's what this is going to become. What am I doing? I want to add one more. Makes sense. Something, all. Something work. $3,000? You thought we were going to say 500? No. Not for that. That's hours and hours and hours worth of work. Most chainmail artists, myself included, aren't going to part with something they've spent this much time. So you'd have to come up with a pretty big price tag to get me to separate with it. And I'm not even done with it, so. How heavy is this one? I'd have to reweigh it. Let's see here. It's like, no, it's 26 ounces. So it's 1 pound, 10 ounces. I think. Oh, the one on the table? This one will be about 22 pounds when it's done. So, and this one's much more involved. There are, I wish that there are a few ways to make it nicer than what I'm making right now. And that's saw cut rings that are welded shut. Right? And if I really wanted that big price tag, that is what I would do. I've got a welder, but these are all machine cut rings, and they're not. Machine cuts are a little more difficult to weld, not impossible. All right, time to attach this. What is the most I've sold something for? I had a sale of a lot of chainmail items, probably a couple hundred chainmail items that I sold for like $5,000. And as far as an individual item goes, I've had sales between $300 and $400. I want to say I sold a bracelet like similar to this, not so many rows and not as intricate, so a little simpler than this weave right here, and like 2 or 3 rows wide. I think I went for like $300. Yeah. The issue is that the rings were smaller than this one, so. Okay, so what I'm working on right now is for decoration. Specifically, this is a sculpture for decoration to put in your house so that people can come to your house and go, what is that? And you'll go, I don't know, but I liked it. So I paid the guy a lot of money. But people make chainmail armor shirts all the time. I make jewelry. I have one of the two saddlebags that I have is finished. It's covered in chainmail, and I'm adding a lot more chainmail to my bike. But yeah, it's you can make functional pieces out of it too. Like you can make a shelf or a wine bottle holster. Your wife is getting into chainmail. Any advice? So the first thing I would do is I would go, and this may sound a bit biased, but I would go and download the Mailworks app. It's in the link tree in my bio, available on Google and Apple. Right? And that app is built for veteran and beginner chainmail artists. And it is a resource for, it's free. And the resources are like where to find suppliers for chainmail rings made for chainmail specifically, where to find tutorials, where to find where other artists hang out at online, chainmail on my motorcycle. So I've got one saddlebag finished, and I'm trying to finish up the other one here real quick so I can go riding. If you give me a second, I can show you. You're allergic to cheap metals. Yep. It's unfortunate. People that I've run into that have, say, a nickel allergy to stainless steel, or aluminum irritates them, or copper turns their body green, right, usually don't have trouble with titanium and niobium, gold or silver, right? Certain alloys of gold and silver. Make sure I did this right and they're all pointing the same direction. Sweet. Oh, gotcha. Makes way more sense. I thought it was a pedal bike. No. You want to... I got it right here. You want to see it? Hang on. You're going to see it. Don't go away. Oh, my leg is numb. This is... Hang on. Let me change this camera over here. This is my saddlebag for my Road King. Like I did the leather edging and the lacing to cover up where the chainmail connects to the saddlebag. And then that's the design on it. And all that leather edging and lacing goes all the way around. And now I gotta finish the second one to make it look like the first. And I'm getting there. I'm almost done. So I'm going to do the saddlebags. I'm going to make a gas tank bib using chainmail and leather. And then I'm going to wrap the toolkit in chainmail. And that's this year. So I'll get all the chainmail and leather work done this year. Then next year I'll get the front and rear fenders, the side panels, and the gas tank hydro dipped in a chainmail pattern. Excuse me. And I want to do my half helmet. I want to hydro dip my half helmet too. So, and then after that, we're going to start talking about increasing the engine size, adding a turbo, dual front discs, chain conversions. Hopefully. Cross your fingers. Hopefully. I gotta make a bunch of stuff and sell it, and that will be my chainmail money to fund new projects and motorcycle money. But all of those motorcycle plans may change. There's a Street Glide with 131 cubic inch engine that already has the chain conversion. All it needs is some dual front discs dual front disc brakes, dual disc front brakes, and a turbo and a dyno tune, and like it's been calling my name for about 2 weeks now. Do I need a 200 mile an hour bike? No. Do I want one? And did one just like fall into my lap at the dealership for a reasonable amount of money? Yeah. Is it a good idea? No. I will die very fast. Will it be the way I'm okay with going out? Yeah. Won't be much left of me after 200 miles an hour. I'm just kidding. I'll be careful. I do want a more high-end performance motorcycle. So, hence the increased motor size, adding a turbo, chain conversion to my bike, right? So, but if I can do all of that to this 2019 with the 131, I've got a 103. There's a huge difference between a 131 and a 103, right? Without any additional tuning, turbos, or any of that, right? There's a huge difference already. So we'll see. We'll see if that bike is still at the dealership in June. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do then. I might get a new bike. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it sells, and I can just keep working on my Road King project like nothing ever happened, like I never saw it, and I can just occasionally think of it fondly. Alright, almost. I want to come from this direction. Come on. Gets really tight in here. Difficult to get your pliers in there to close the rings. Especially when we close the top of one of these big rings. I think I slipped and smashed my hand like 4 times yesterday. Just while I was live streaming. That wasn't to include all of the times I did it during the day when no one was watching. How you doing, Ethan? I am making a Ringception Metacube. And what I'm doing is I'm taking small rings and I'm weaving them together to make big rings. Right? And then I'm taking the big rings and I'm weaving them together to look like a cube in a cube pattern. And I'm kind of getting somewhere with it. I did have a lot more of this done, but I had to tear it apart so that it could be tightened up a little bit, be made more rigid. And now we're putting it all back together. I only tore apart half of it. Dang, how long does it usually take? Each ring takes me about an hour and a half. So by the time I'm done, if from start to finish, I didn't have to tear this apart and put it back together. From start to finish, if I'd put everything together correctly the first time, it probably would have taken me anywhere from 150 to 175 hours, right? There's 95 rings, so an hour and a half per ring is 150 hours. But then to put them all together, you know, probably something like 75 hours or 175 hours total by the time I'm done. So, and that's there's going to be what's the math on this? It's 168 times 95. Where's my calculator? 168 times, there's 168 rings in each of these big rings, and there's going to be 95 total, right? So that's 15,960. What's that divided by 175? It's a little less than 100 rings an hour. What's that divided by? Okay, hang on. 15,960 divided by 150. Yeah, okay. A 110 rings an hour, 105 rings an hour to put this together. Which is, it makes sense, right? Normally on projects like this, hang on, this jelly cube that I have over here, this one, I do about 200 rings an hour. So, but I don't know if it's just this weave or the angles or the spring steel in the rings here. Takes me a little bit longer. That's okay. That's kind of what it's gonna start to look like here. Hang on. See if I can get it to stand up. No, it doesn't want to do that. Thanks. Thanks, you good for nothing. Alright, as it gets tighter, the more it will stand up on its own. Or as I add more rings, the more it will become this cube. But that's going to be like the width of it right there. Three rings wide. Roughly. Alright. So I can start one more of these, but I'm not going to be able to finish it. I only got a couple of minutes left. So, for anyone watching who wants to see more of the stuff that I do, I'm usually on 8:30 to 10 most nights of the week. Thank you for the follow. I do appreciate it. I have been doing this for about 28 years, and while I am not the best, and I don't know the most about chainmail that is to be known, I know people who have forgotten more about chainmail than I would ever hope to know, right? However, I do know quite a bit, and while I'm not a very good teacher, I do have the Mailworks app, which, if you're somewhat of an autodidact, there are a ton of resources in the Mailworks app that I could have used 30 years ago when I first got started, right? So if you see this and you're like, that'd be cool, I want to give it a try, my first piece of advice would be to download the MailWorks app. It's for everyone. A little wonky right now because I got to fix some of the icons because I'm changing some stuff around, but it works. And all the permissions that pop up are there for your safety and for mine. So I could get it approved by Google and Apple. The only people your data is shared with is Amazon Web Services, Cloudflare, Google, Apple, and me. I wouldn't know how to exploit your data even if I, well, I do have some people's email addresses, but wouldn't know what to do with someone else's email address that wouldn't immediately get me caught, right? Nor do I have any interest in it. It is a free app, and you might be like, oh, wow, Sean, you made a free app to help people learn more about chainmail. I do have an ulterior motive. It's not all altruistic all the time, but mostly. There is a link to my store on there, and I stream at night to show people that you can make cool things from chainmail at home so that they will learn how to make chainmail and become interested and then go buy stuff from me. I do design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories, and got some t-shirts with some funny stuff on them in regards to chainmail. And all around, it's a good time. The money from my store goes to funds. The money I make from the store goes to fund projects like this, where we can make cool stuff online. And it helps support the stream. So please go and purchase yourself something. Chainmail doesn't go out of style. It's been around for like 2,000 years, and we still use it for stuff to this day. All right, come on. What else? What else? If you do like chainmail or know someone who does, please pass the word along about the app and the website, and help someone you know get started on a new hobby that you can get. You can make a lot of really cool stuff with. Also, if you download the MailWorks app because you want to get started making chainmail, my first recommendation is to go to like Metal Designs in the supplier section, or We've Got Mail in the supplier section. They've got little kits, right? And you can get pliers out of the junk drawer at your house or in the family tool chest to open and close rings. You don't need specialty pliers when you're first starting out. But if you get a kit from one of those two suppliers that I mentioned, a kit comes with a tutorial, and it's a quick win. You'll learn a weave. You'll learn a little bit about opening and closing rings. And you're not ordering rings of various sizes that you're not familiar with. And you're avoiding making my mistake. Does that make sense? Now, this project was born out of that mistake. However, this project was probably 15, 20 years in the making. That's how long I've had these rings and didn't know what to do with them. So don't have unnecessary piles of rings laying around your house for no reason. There is another kit from Chainmail Joe, who's also listed in the supplier section, and they've got a beginner's kit. It has the option to come with pliers, two pairs of pliers, and then there's a anodized aluminum one with lots of colors and a bright aluminum one, right? Which is no color. They're all this color. This is bright aluminum, right? So that's a good kit to pick up if you're interested in getting started. And it comes with a pretty box a tutorial booklet, and a bunch of different ring sizes. So if you want to familiarize yourself with different ring sizes, the Chainmail Joe Kit may be the way to go so that you can order your own stock of rings in the future. Right? And if you just want a little bit of exposure to see how you feel about chainmail, get a kit from We've Got Mail or Metal Designs. Other suppliers listed in the Mailworks app also have kits. I'm not sure which ones off the top of my head. That's why I made a list of suppliers. If you are looking at this and like, oh, I would love to own some chainmail one day, there is an artist section in the Mailworks app. They pretty much, actually, one of them closed down. Metalisa closed down. She sold her business, so I need to remove her. But there's several others, and they all are set up to take commissions, unlike me. And if you're looking to get some custom work done, they take custom requests, and they have stock made, most of them, I think most of the time. And so they may already have something you desire. So that is where I would start. If you're interested in learning how to make chainmail or purchasing chainmail, I would download the Mailworks app. And especially if you're looking to expand your knowledge about chainmail, there is a Discord link inside the Mailworks app. So we just started it. There was a chat wall, and you could post pictures and comments in there, but if someone responded to you, you wouldn't be notified. So I was like, this isn't quite what I had in mind for building a chainmail community. Let's just start a Discord since most people are familiar with it, you know. So, but that's inside the Mailworks app. Got to download the app to get the link. But if you're new and you want to know more, join the Discord. We'll be packing that with information and organizing that here soon. I can't promise when. Just because I have a ton of work to do. But yeah, that's pretty much... Oh, please follow me on all my socials. Go to my Linktree, follow all my other socials. If you like what you see and you want to hang out and make more chainmail with me. I do stream to other platforms all at the same time. And since TikTok is at risk of going away, if you want to stay in touch, follow me on my other socials. And I think that's kind of a long outro, and it's only getting longer. That's fine. This is fine. We'll be all right. I do want to say thanks to everyone for hanging out. It is 10 o'clock. 2 minutes till. I've got to finish up some stuff before I go to bed tonight. I don't have to get up early tomorrow to take the kid to school, so I don't have to go to bed too early, but I do have to get some stuff done. So I'm going to finish up these rings here and then get out of here. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. It's always fun. I hope you learned something. Hope you found that interesting. I look forward to working on more of this tomorrow. What I want to do tomorrow is just finish up the outside of a bunch of these and then just spend all stream weaving rings together. That's my goal for tomorrow. We'll see how well that plan works. Then once this cube is done, it's back to our regularly scheduled projects like the saddlebags and the Finnegan's Wake flag and expanding this jelly cube more, as well as 100 other projects laying around. Please tell you how you don't get bored of it. I make a bunch of different stuff. I don't make the same thing over and over. And if I do it in batches, infrequently throughout the year. There's a never-ending list of ideas in my head that of stuff that I've wanted to make for a while, and what it is I want an end product of some kind, right? Like I have a goal in mind of what I want to make, okay? But the way that I get there is just through weaving rings together, right? It's no different than people who spend all their time engaged in carpentry, and I don't have the mindset for carpentry. It's fun. I do a little bit of it. I have saws and tools and stuff. And bottom bracelet, right arm looks this one. I'll just show you all of them. They're all about to... okay, the left one. Yeah, this cuff and this cuff, right? Two different bracelets, but got the triquetra beads in there. Just a Byzantine chain, then King Viperibus, then Byzantine, 5 strands of Byzantine woven together, then a weave called Interwoven 4-in-1, and then a dual Byzantine bracelet with some skull and crossbones on it. So these, okay. Like I put this together. I designed this. Same with this one. I put this together. This is one of my designs, right? I didn't make the beads or anything. I just put the beads together and figured out what rings I needed to weave them all together. So I do batches of these throughout the year. Right now, I have a bunch of the dual Byzantine bracelets made. I've got 20 of these I got to make next month, and so that can get a little boring during doing those. But this can turn into a grind, this giant cube, just because there's over 600 rings on each side. So minimum of 1,200 rings to get it to the next row up, right? That can turn into a grind. This project that I'm working on right here has kind of, like I'm kind of irritated that I ended up taking half of it apart. But it will be better for it in the end. And then I don't get bored just because I don't really want to be doing anything else. I'm kind of okay at it. And, it's like the only thing I'm good at. So if I get bored of it, then I'm screwed. But with that, guys, it is past 10. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. Thank you for hanging out. I do appreciate it. Like I said, I'm usually here 8:30 to 10. Most nights of the week. I do have a family. I do have stuff that I have to go do. But if I'm not here one night, I will be the next. Excuse me. Oh. But I've got to go.